Alright folks, update on the Cuda. So as you can see right now, I'm sanding down the epoxy primer all around. Now you know why paint job costs so dang much. There's a lot of labor into making the body straight, well, as straight as possible. If I can do it, a shop can do it, whoever is doing it. And then on top of that, when you bring down the bare metal, you want to hit it with some epoxy primer. So if you want to go back and repair something later, it won't, surface rust won't be happening. And once you do that, as you can see, my car is outside, so some of the rain got right up in the floor pan, but I'm just gonna wire wheel all that up. It'll be good because I'm gonna paint it with the Cora Seal in the interior. I mean, not the interior. Well, yeah, the interior of the car. I'm gonna use the Cora Seal like what I did on the Charger frame. Paint it all in here and paint underneath the carriage. But anyways, now after you paint the car with the epoxy sealer primer, I'm looking online and most people say use 180. Basically scuff it back up. Here's the box that I'm using. It's like a 100 pack, but I'm using 180. As you can see, I'm scuffing up the whole thing. I'm using the DA on the big bulky ones that I can fit, and then I'm gonna have to go back with the block to blow and block sand, scuff up some of these areas I can't get in there with the DA, which is very time consuming. This is why these paint jobs cost $10,000 or more. It's not the paint to paint the car. It's a damn labor of getting it prep. That's what kills you on a paint job. It's the prep work. And then once I finish that, I don't know if I'll finish it all today. Hopefully I can. I'm gonna hit it with an Eastwood 2K urethane primer. It's the black one too, since I'm painting the car black. So it's what's that, 4-to-1 mix. So you know how the 4-to-1 mix. Here's your cup, and basically, well, this one doesn't show you the 4-to-1, but basically it'll be 4. You go all the way up to the 4. So let's say you're gonna mix it, well, it depends on how much you want to paint a car with, but let's just go, for example, you go right here to the 4. Well, here you go to the 4 here, and then 4-to-1, you just go to the next 4 in the 1 column. So it's a 4-to-1 mix ratio, and that's basically how you mix paint. But you always want to stir it up and then use a strainer. But that's what the goal is today. Hopefully I can get it done. So I'm busy right now scuffing Project Phantom up so I can hit her with a 2K urethane black primer from Eastwood. And yeah, once you do that, you do your last bit of block sanding and we're on for paint. I gotta get this car painted this year, so I can't even play around. This car has to get painted so I can start installing all the suspension and all that good stuff and get rid of some of the parts I have in here for this dang car. So that's the goal, hopefully for today. Hopefully I can get the primer done, get it all sanded, so I can get her the 2K urethane primer and get her finally ready for paint. Then I can start assembling her. I know, yeah, my rusty rear disc, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. Sand her down. More to come. Peace. What up, folks? Here's another one. Finally got it painted. Day 2 of trying to paint Phantom, Project Phantom. I finally did. Yesterday I was trying to do it, but make sure your gun is not clogged, because a gun got clogged up yesterday. It's an old cheap Harbor Freight one. So I had to buy a new one today to paint it because it was coming out. It was like spitting out the paint because it was clogged up. But I painted it with 2K primer, Eastwood. It's black. Now it came out pretty good. I mean, I got some streaks up on the roof, but the good thing about 2K primer, when you're painting stuff with 2K primer, is it's not the final stage. It's just to make sure all the body work is good, lines are as straight as possible, which with me, they're as straight as possible as I can get them. And it does show why a rotisserie is good to have, but it's like I said, I do this as a hobby, so I don't really see the point of me investing in a rotisserie because I don't do this as for a living. But one thing I learned going back to epoxy primer, why my gun got clogged up, is epoxy primer is very thick. It's a real thick primer, and that's why my gun clogged up. If you're gonna spray epoxy primer, I would just use a cheap gun from Harbor Freight. That's what I did. Well, anytime I spray like primers or epoxy. I always use a cheap gun from Harbor Freight. I reuse it. I got my good guns in there that I use for paint and clear coat. But just a little quick tip, if you're going to use epoxy primer on any car, if you're spraying it yourself, use a cheap gun, because that thing really clogs up your gun. And that's just a lesson learned. But yeah, it came out pretty good, as you can see. Took me 2 days. I was supposed to do it yesterday. It was yesterday, 26. But my gun got clogged up. The store closed. So it was too late for me. And I was tired from sanding. But we're getting there. Hopefully I will paint this. I think I gotta go see my parents next week, Florida. So I might not be able to paint it next week. Maybe midweek next week. But we're going to get it. It's going to be painted this month. And we're going to start assembling this Q&A1 suspension. Oh yeah, and inside, I'm just going to use my Cora-Seal to paint inside with the black. And I don't know if the Cora-Seal, you could paint over it. I'm going to have to look at it. 'Cause if I could use the Cora-Seal, since it eats up the rust, I will do that. And then I'll just paint it or just clear coat it so it'll look shiny and good. And especially like underneath, since I ain't got a rotisserie, it's hard to get here. And that's what I learned about painting. I have to lift this car up higher so I could get into hard to reach places. But underneath, I'm most likely just going to hit it with a Cora-Seal. It's basically a rust converter, like paint over rust POR15, same thing. But she's coming along. She'll be painted so I can get her back in my garage and finish up the charger body work. Project goes. But yeah, she's looking good. She's gonna look even better when she's fully assembled, and that comes the tricky part. Hopefully I can remember everything. Oh yeah, and also I gotta start putting the seam sealer on. As you can see, put the seam sealer. That's gonna hide some of those welds. But like I said, this ain't gonna be no show car. It's gonna be a nice driver and a nice thing to look at. And that's it. It ain't gonna be no show quality stuff. Cause like I said, this is the resources I have and the tools I have to make stuff work. You saw I paint the damn car outside, right outside my garage of my house. So it is what it is. I don't have no shop or paint booth, but it came out pretty good. And also, I'm just showing that you could do it too, right in your driveway and all that. You don't have to have all the professional. Well, it would be nice to have the professional stuff, but hey, you do what you use what you got and do with what you got. So that's my motto. It's still gonna look nice, still gonna turn heads when I'm done with it. But that's it. We're one more step closer to getting paint and clear on this baby. Project Phantom. Oh yeah. Later. Peace.